Okay, hello everybody. My name's Debra Huse. I'm from Southern California, and I'm pleased to be here as an alumni guest of the Avalon Foundation. I've competed in the competition probably about 15 years and have been fortunate enough to win some awards along the way, and always love coming here. It's full of inspiration and beauty. I just love being here. So as I've been telling friends this week, I haven't had a problem with the heat because I keep making sure I find somewhere that's in the shade and it's got a nice breeze, and so I don't worry about that. And then there's beauty everywhere, all the way from Oxford to Tillman and everywhere in between. And so I'm just thrilled to be here. So thank you for having me and thank you for coming. So today we're going to paint a couple of log canoes, historic log canoes. And they're so interesting because they have a small wooden boat, and I know they're very hard to come across these days. And then they have two giant masts, and then all these sails. And once they're up on sails, the boat is so small that they have to put wooden planks out on the side for ballast, and people actually climb out on the wooden planks to keep the boat balanced from the wind against the sails. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Only you East Coast people do these crazy things. No, just kidding. So I just love them. I think they're really beautiful. And so I'm going to try to get a basic drawing of two log canoes going. And so let's get started. So I'm using my little design finder here, which is a little plastic thing. It has a grid on it. It helps me kind of divide my canvas in thirds. I believe in a focal point, so I'll put my strongest boat in the lower quadrant here, and the people will be right about here, and then there'll be a smaller boat. And the idea of a bigger boat and a smaller boat is actually a design element called a steelyard, and it's a weight thing, having the big and the small, and it makes for a really nice design for, oh, so you can see the log canoes. That's cool. So let's give it a go. I've tinted my canvas with raw sienna and a little Gamsol, and I'm just going to try looking through here to just see if I can get the general angles. Hopefully I won't fall off of here. General angles of my mast for my boat. So I like to mark my canvas in thirds pretty much, so it kind of helps me to keep my subject out of the middle and off the bottom. And also in a painting, you never want a mast of a boat right in the middle, and you never want the horizon of the water right in the middle. So those are two things I want to keep in mind before I even get started. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a go. Mostly when I just want to make sure I get the angles of the masts pretty correct. And so the boat, I see in my little drawing, the boat is pretty small. Let's see, about like this. And the masts are about at this angle. So that's very helpful for me to get started. And this has an interesting little sail up here. And then I think another sail goes, oh, it's right there. Great. That makes it, really, now that I have this idea, this angle, and a lot of times I'll just stand out with a boat, you know, like all boats have bows that angle funny. I mean, some are straight up and down, and some angle forward on sailboats and different kind of cruising boats around the harbor. So being a boat person, I know you have to really pay attention to which is where. Oh, thanks. My crib railing, yes, thank you. Okay, and so I like to just make sure I get these angles going correctly here, and then see how the back mast is a little bit shorter. And the front mast is a little bit longer. So it doesn't have to be perfect yet. I'm just trying to get the idea of this little cute little boat. Now, the interesting thing about these sails is, look, the front sail sticks way out past. This sail goes up. I'm looking at my computer now just to make it easier. And this sail goes way out to the front, and it's got this bowsprit, and then a little teeny boat down here. Look at that little thing. I wish I could make it a little bigger. I think I'd try to make it a little bigger. And then these guys go out, as you could probably saw on the picture, they come out here. And so they're going to be right in my focal point. Can you see how I like to weigh down a focal point? And one of these, where these intersect these lines of drawing in thirds is a great place for a focal point for a painting so that your painting isn't just in the middle. You know, there's a better design element going. So that's a nice start right there. And then we've got these little sails. Now there's a young woman that works here and she sails these boats. So if she's in the audience, you have to tell me, where'd she go? She was here earlier. I'd like to know what these sails are called. She is? Oh, that's impressive. Oh yeah, Ed, you told me. She's the boat, what do they call her when she's out here? She calls orders. She sits back here on the stern and she tells people what to do, basically, according to the wind and the other boats. So this already is looking pretty good to me. I'm thinking I like it. And often with a sailboat, you know, I would like to make sure I have reflections going down of these beautiful sails. And so we'll get the second sailboat would be a little bit higher. I'm basically just going to copy this design. I don't need my little design finder anymore. I'm just going to copy the design of this boat. And it would be up a little higher because of perspective, because it's further away. But the mast would be about the same angle. So I'm going to just go ahead. Also, something about sailboats is you have to make sure you don't get the mast right in the middle. I mean, the mast, where the mast lands is really important also for balance for the boats. So that makes sailboats very tricky to paint. So we've got this little sail, got this little guy back here. This is called the, well, I'm not sure exactly what all the sails are called, so I better not speak out of school. I'm a power boater, so my husband and I go out on a sport fishing boat, and I paint from shore a lot, paint the land from shore a lot. And we have an island off of Southern California called Catalina Island, and they're big on conservancy. And I've often been invited to paint for the conservancy there, and they take you up onto the island and then where nobody can go, and then down all these roads behind these locked gates and everything purposes. And so it's very educational, and it's also very exciting for me. And then they like having me because I'll go around the outside edge and paint from our boat, get the craggy rocks and different things that you can't get by Jeep with the Ranger. Okay, so let's make sure these are leaning back far enough because that means that they're, you know, underway and they're having a great time sailing the wind. And then see this front sail swoops forward. I love this little graceful swoop. And then these sails come down at an angle. So you have to kind of get used to what all these do. Oh, and this one I see it sticks out. So I have to make sure my boat ends maybe a little bit sooner because this person back here I think they're called boatswains, but I'm not sure. Bosun. Thank you. I knew there was some word like that. Thank you. Bosun. And it's fun because the day I was out painting these, they had an extra sail, and maybe you know that, where between these two there was an extra sail like a spinnaker, and those were colored. So some of the boats had yellow ones, some had blue ones, some had red ones, but it was too many sails for me today. I thought, let's just stick with the basic, you know. And so this is fun. You can see a little bit of reflection. So the sails on a boat are often white, and oftentimes when I'm painting in California, I try to make the sails feel like they're more old-fashioned, almost more of a canvas feel instead of the new parachute style, you know, white. So it's try to make a decision there. And some of the boats in California also have bright orange sails, which is really interesting because the way they reflect in the blue water is so pretty. So I like having this vertical, and then all the water is horizontal. And then what it will do is find the distant landmass. Now, I don't want that landmass right in the middle. So the landmass sits down here. So we'll get that distant landmass in there. I also have 3 colors of paint that I have made for me that I put out on my canvas or on my palette each time I paint. And it looks like I put blue in 2 places. Where's my purple? Oh, okay. I think I got in too big a hurry there and put out 2 blues and not my purple, because my purple is my favorite color. Okay, so this basically goes all the way across. It's my distant landmass. So there's our design so far. The bottom of this boat has a dark hull, and I usually would paint that a reddish color. The reason is it's hard to get, and you never think about this, but when you're looking at ocean and a lot of scenery, there's usually a whole bunch of blue and green. There's blue sky, blue water, the boat's in sun and shadow, it's kind of like gray, and so it's hard to find different colors to use. I try to find new solutions to get the painting to be exciting, and by adding reds, because I love these old masks too, the fact that they are not white masks, you know, that way I can get some red into my painting, get some oranges and reds in here. So in oil painting, you always like to get the darks going in first. And so once I get my design, I'm going to make sure I have all of my darks in here, because dark paint does not, my wiggly hands here. We will straighten the mask, I promise. But you can't put dark paint on top of light paint. It looks terrible. It just doesn't work. So you have to get all your darks in first and put your light around it. Also, a thing about clouds, I'm going to add some clouds now in an oil painting. You always put the clouds in first and put the sky around the clouds. That's kind of the opposite of what most people might think. But it makes a big difference. So we can add, you know, trees and hills back here, whatever you want. You can add even an extra mountain if you want to, just depending on, I'm not sure where they're sailing. Grab my tissue here. Let's add just an idea of, this looks pretty good. Okay, so we've got this mass. Let's get this in real quick. And this one, this boom or bowsprit. Let's just, for fun, let's just add some clouds that are going to go bigger over the small boat and smaller behind the big boat. I think that'll add a lot of nice, there's been a lot of beautiful clouds in the sky this week with the rain and everything. So this is kind of a fun design, and I think it's going to work out just great. And these people, it's funny in this picture, I don't know if you have this picture of it. See the lion on top of that sail, which I don't know what that sail's called. It's called something special, and usually that team will be wearing red. So I'm going to put all red on this guy and a little red mark up here. And this team on my photo actually has a lucky charm, like a 4-leaf clover on theirs, and then they're all dressed in green. So I guess when you're racing, you know, you like to make sure people know which boat is which from a distance. So we'll go ahead and do that just for fun. Let's put my little green lucky charm guy there, and then these people will all be in green. For now, I just put them in dark. They're all just this group of people, and if you're a boater that knows about these kinds of boats, then you'll know that those are people. There we go. Okay, so got that. Now let's get red one on here. And do a little red guy there. And then the people, golly, they really go up high on this boat. And this would slant down. It has to be perspective, so these would be kind of more even. And these people, these crazy men and women that sit out here, and this person will be in red too. Okay, so now trying to get all the water and the dark in first. So I'll get to the sail second. I think I'll start with the reflection down in the water. And sometimes I'll add oranges into the reflection down, even though it's a white sail, because most people don't notice that it's orange. They just know they like the painting because it has a lot of warm colors to it. So I'm going to go ahead and just scrub in. There's two kinds of way to apply paint. And let me talk about brushes real quick. So I could be pretty quick if I have to. These are short flats and long flats, so I want to show you the difference. So the short flat pushes paint into the surface, and you do a scrubbing technique. The long flat, I scoop it up and I lay it on, just like my hand. It comes right off of the end of the brush onto the canvas. Where if I try to do that with a shorter brush, it won't work. It digs in. So these have different jobs. And if you don't know that when you're painting, sometimes you're having trouble getting something in your painting, and it's really because you're using the wrong brush. And if you just switch brushes, often you'll have an easier time getting what it is that you need to get. So I'm going to, pardon? Yes. Yeah, this one's called a short flat, and this is called a long flat. Filberts are rounded. No, they do make some that are Egbert. So the question is about the brushes. The short ones are called short flats. Sometimes they're called brights. The longer ones are called long flats. Sometimes they're rounded at the tip. That's a different brush altogether, filbert. But, you know, eventually if you keep using these, they kind of get rounded anyways because of use. But I really like these particular ones. And then they do make even longer. So this is another even longer one, and this is for at the end. Because it's so long, you can add big pieces of paint on at the end, and so you save these longer ones for the very end, these really long ones. So I'm going to just scrub in my dark of my reflection of my boat and my water, and then see where we are with that. Oops. Okay. So you can see the water. Now, do I want to put a little green maybe into my bluish, purplish water? Let's see what color we have here. Like this Viridian green is really pretty, but I think the blue and the green together might be just right. So I'm going to just start with some thin darks and go around my boat and just see where we are. Scrub this in, and then what happens as I go back toward my landmass, I'll make the landmass different and I'll make the water different. So as the water's in the foreground, it's usually a little warmer. As it goes in the distance, it gets a little grayed off or lighter in value. And sometimes it's really fun to hit that background water, like with a bunch of light hitting it. Just makes some for excitement in the painting. So we'll just kind of get rolling and see where we end up here. So this is the scrubbing technique I was talking about, where you just kind of push the paint right into the surface. And I want to go around all my pieces so I know I'm not losing anything here in the meantime. I kind of lost my landmass, but that's easy to put back. And then this is going to be my reflection here. So this is all dark. I'll just get that in. And my person, what's it called? What's that person called? The boatswain? Boatsman. Who said that? Bosun. Bosun, thank you. Okay, so that's like the start of my water. What I like to do is put in a thick, nice dark, and then I use my longer brush and I lay lighter tones on top. And that way it gives a little peek through to the darker part and kind of adds little bits of darkness that make the water look more interesting instead of just jumping to the lighter value. And so we got that started. Let's see. So usually for a white sail, you would have kind of a grayish, warm reflection. Oops, that's not warm enough. I like to make it pretty warm. But it's light, it's darker than the sail. The white sail in the water isn't white anymore. It kind of is a mixture of the white with the blue water. And then if I want to add a little more sparkle to it, I can later, but I want to make sure I get it so that it's not too bright. So we'll start with that. Sometimes I like to just sneak a little bit of orange in there. Nice and warm. And we'll do the same guy over here. So again, I'm just kind of scrubbing in this paint. And also about sailboats, you know, the hull is like teeny above water and the sails are giant. So you don't want to make a giant hull of the boat and small sails. So it's something you really have to pay attention to is the proportion and the angles so that it reads right. Okay. So that's a good start with that. Let's see what's happening here. Back of the boat is right here. And back here, you can't see much of the boat, so we'll add that on top. Okay, so now, got that started. I think what I'd like to do now is kind of feel like I want to get in my sails. It's kind of like there's something called islands and oceans, and it's an idea that you paint something in the painting first, and then you paint around it. So it's called like an island. So that's the same with a cloud. If you paint the cloud first and get it all the colors that you want, paint the sky around it, the cloud sits in the sky, not on top. And so it reads much better. So sometimes with my sails, I'll try to think about, do I want to do them first or last? And here, I think it might be fun to get the nice bright sails in first, and then we'll go around them with the clouds, and then we'll go around the clouds with the sky. So painters are always not only strategizing with where's the sunlight, where's the lights, where's the darks, what design do you have, but what's the best order to lay the paint on? So there's kind of a lot to think about, more than you think. And so often painters are just like thinking, wow, how am I going to solve this issue or that problem so that the painting turns out believable, and it's always a really fun challenge. It's a lot of strategizing. So with that said, let's go ahead and see about putting on some really rich color sails. And my people, let's see, where's my little brush here? Go back to this. I see on my photo that these crazy people that sit out here are sitting on some nice dark planks, and I want to get some darkness in there so I don't forget. And then I also see that around the sail is a little more blue, so I just don't want to forget that there's blue here, there's water, there's some water here, and some water here. So today, I will be getting in a lot of these big pieces and parts. And if I was going to do a bigger painting, I would spend a lot more time getting maybe some of the details of rigging or just really fine-tuning the people. But I think the beauty of painting on location and doing a kind of a quick demo to explain all these concepts is that it'll be kind of loose and it'll be fun, but you'll get the big pieces and the big values and colors and just kind of see it come together pretty quick. That's my plan anyhow. Okay, so let's see about using some bigger long brushes. I mean, I have this monster long brush, which is a really nice one. And sometimes for clouds, my painting that's today, I hope you'll join us at the show tonight from 6 to 8 over at the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy on Washington Street. I have a painting there where I have some giant brush strokes in the clouds and in the trees, and then all sorts of fun takeaway techniques and different things in that painting. But sometimes with clouds, I like to just scoop up a whole lot of paint and get them in there. But since our sails are really more important, I think it might be fun to do that on the sails this time. So let's give that a go. And the sails are in full sun. So you can see in my picture, the sails are getting full sun. So the sun is back over here and it's hitting the sails. And the people are casting a shadow on the boat. But there's not that much shadow on the sails. I might even make up a little bit of shadow on the sails. Let's see. So I'm going to just put together a nice pile of warm paint. It's pretty thick, probably from being outside. So I'm going to just get the teeniest little bit of Gamsol onto my brush to make it a little thinner. And this is my focal area, so I want my brightest brights to be like right here. So I'm just gonna probably power on some nice, I think a little warmer even. See if we can get away with some yellowy, nice rich. It's almost the color of my background. But I want it to be nice, thick paint. So you try to hold the brush toward the end, try to set it and pull a brush stroke, and then try to leave those brush strokes alone. So I like to leave them all nice and juicy. And then there's my people here. Let's scoop it up a little bit. Go around some of my guys here. And I'm not going to worry too much about if it's messy. And I think I'll make this sail pretty full on the sun also. Sometimes because it curves, it's funny that in the picture there's really no shadowing, because even though it's curved, it usually would have a little shadow to show you that these aren't flat. So they do kind of curve out to the edge. So like on this edge, I see in my photo, get on there, a little bit more of kind of a darker tone on the outside edge. Let's see. There we go. And then I see this sail as being a little bit darker. So I'm going to keep it in the warm family. It's just darker. So there's a lot more white in this sail, and this sail is going to have a little more of the like yellow ochre kind of a feel to it. So it's a little bit darker. They aren't all the same. So that's a good start for those guys. Oh, I can't forget that one. I have to get a little smaller brush for that guy. So the thing is also with outdoor painting, or most of the plein air painters will paint by holding their brush at the end like this. So, and the reason is because if you're painting like this, you tend to be noodling everything, and trying too hard. And capturing paintings on location, you try to be as free as you can and capture the light as quickly as you can. So this just makes it so you can move the brush all around easier and for better paint application. Now, this goes up here. Oops. So I'm going to try to just go around my little red insignia and put some nice warm paint on here. And so the neat thing is I can carve into these sails if I want to, with the sky and with the clouds, and give them a little more shape once I get them in there. I still need to get the boat in there pretty soon. It's not really there yet. And so let's put some nice warm back in this distant sail. I kind of want to just make it a little orangey and see what happens, see if we like it. And if I decide that I don't like it quite so orangey looking, then I'll just put more whitish paint on top. So again, I'm just trying to scoop up and leave some nice thick brush strokes, hopefully. On the little sail back here, I can see some shadowing. Oops, I'm picking up some of my watercolor. I don't want to do that. Get back on there. I can thin out my little mast straighten out my wiggly drawing with just by working from the outside in. There we go. It's getting there. Interesting little sail. I'm dying to know more about how they attach these sails up here. I mean, I can't imagine how they get them up there, to tell you the truth. It's really bizarre. It doesn't look like they're hoisted up. They must be, though. Okay. Now this line, what's this line? Oh, I drew a line there like there was a gaff rig sail, and there's not. These gaff rig sails are the old sails that go up from the bottom like this on a piece of wood so that they angle out from the mast this way, and then they go down like a catboat would. But these sails don't have that. I drew that in there thinking that they did when I was doing my drawing, and they don't. So I have to get rid of this little line here. But okay, so now let's start to do some. I'll do a distant landmass real quick. I'm going to do some clouds also. So a distant landmass, I usually like to use a purpley color. And it's good because my sails are kind of yellow, and on a color wheel, the opposite of purple is yellow, and so it's complementary coloring, which means that it just makes for a nicer complement. This will help show off my sails if I keep this kind of dark and kind of in the purple zone. See how I like to just scoop it up and just try to, get it on there. And I really admire when I see a painter that's got very confident strokes and brushwork, and because it's hard to do. And so I like to try to scoop it up and get it on as confidently as I can. Okay, so if we have some clouds and then we have some blue sky, I want to make sure my clouds are dark enough to still show off my sails. So let's see what kind of coloring I can get for my clouds. That's a little purpley. I'm going to go into my red orangish color here and get a really neat color that might be a foggy cloud color. Let's see if I can find it. And just go around all this stuff and get this going, and then we'll see how we like everything. So I'm using some complementary colors here. I'm using some reds and some greens all together, and they make their own gray, which is kind of pretty. And I'm going to pretend that the light is coming over my left shoulder a little bit, not so that there's a little bit of depth to these clouds. And see how by just putting that dark next to the sails, how they start to pop out a little bit more? Okay. I use a little bit of my red orange in there. I'm going to leave this open, go over here. Now I got to find these. Now, this sail's at the top of this mast. No, it hangs off. It's got its own little mast, which is kind of funny. So I'm trying to find this little sail by using my sky. And same thing, I'll go around everything down here with my big old brush and try to get the shape of the sail correctly. Because once you get in all the big pieces, you can start to fine-tune things. But the idea is to get in the big pieces first, and once you kind of get everything going, then you can start to fine-tune everything. Because you know how it's easy to just start working on like one boat, and then like 4 or 5 hours go by and you've still only done this one little teeny boat. So that's why, on location especially, because the light is constantly changing. Oh, Nick, do you happen to have that video? Can you show it? I want to show me working out on location. So I'll show you what I was doing. This is, I got to go out on my friend's center console boat. They took me with all their kids out to paint the log canoes. I can't remember, a Rockport, I think we were. And the thing was is that the wind wasn't very strong, so the boats were kind of just going along like this real slow. And so we went along like this real slow. So to me, it was like they weren't even moving. It was so cool. Well, this is one of the photos. And then there's also this, yeah. So you can kind of get a feel for what it's like to try to capture while you're underway. The distant landmass. See how light the sails are and how dark the sky, the landmass, and the water are in comparison. It's really interesting how dark that looks. And that makes for a very dramatic painting, too. So if you keep everything else dark and the sails light, that gives you the pop. But that was really fun, and they were good sports. We must have had 8 or 10 people on this little center console boat, lots of kids. They were all having a great time. It was really fun. I got 2 paintings out that day, and I ended up winning an award for one of them, so that was super cool. Quite the unforgettable experience. So you can see by getting rid of a lot of my background color how this is starting to kind of come to life with value. So the value in a painting means the light, or is it light or dark, or is it middle? And so every color has value. So is it like a light blue, or a medium blue, or a dark blue? And what color is blue in the shade, and what color is blue in the sunlight? All these things you have to think about while you're trying to get all these things solved in your painting. Quite the challenge. That's why it takes a while to get the hang of painting altogether, period. And I've been painting since I was a really young person. I got right into classes at the age of 10 and got to go to college courses when I was 12 because I won a contest at school. And so I got to spend the summer at an academy of art, kind of like across the street, but they actually were a school. And so I'm going to leave a little area for some sunlight. I probably might put a little more than that. I don't know, it might conflict, so I'm going to just lightly cover this and I'll think about it. Not sure. So let's go ahead and fill in the sky, and then I'll just start to refine everything and try to keep it simple but free. But does anyone have any questions right now as far as trying to see how to get all the big pieces in or anything? Yes? Soften and warm the sails? The question was about the sails and the color of the sails. I have white here, and I have a warm white that's out of a tube, but it's easily made by adding just a little bit of orange to the white, just a little bit. So that's basically what I did. I was taking my white, and then I was going into my yellow oranges and oranges to kind of warm them up a little bit. And then I also had one, like a yellow ochre on there to add to it. So I'm trying to make sure they don't look yellow, they don't look orange, but they look warm and a little bit darker. So that's a very good question. Thank you. And then I know this sail slinks in, so I just want to get this neat shape more like that. I just use this cloud pile, my pile right here, and just pushed into that so it has this similar feel as this one. And sometimes I don't mind a little outline showing. I think that looks cool. Okay, so now let's see if we have a blue sky. There's a very gray sky in these pictures, so I could mix up whatever I want, just trying to do things. Do I want to have this be quiet and these be colorful? Another thing you have to think about, if you have too much color sometimes, it's maybe too much color all over the place, so it gets kind of tricky. So I think we'll just go into this more light blue type pile here, and then I'll add a little bit of the opposite color, almost like my clouds, but I want to make sure it's lighter. Or do I? A little bit lighter than my clouds. Big brush, big strokes, trying to have some fun with the paint. Sometimes I just let that go right down into the clouds. And shape this guy right here with the edge of my brush. Same with the mast. So I'm trying to decide right now if that's too light. Maybe it's a little too light. Let's see what happens if, sometimes in the sky, where the sun is, you'll have that side of the sky lighter, and where the sun, as it's going away from the sun, the sky will get a little bit darker. So what happens if we just start to darken it over here? Let's see which one we like better. Because I think the darker value shows off, can you see how it shows off the lightness of this better? When this is light, it competes, and when it's darker, this shows off more. So I really think I'm going to like the little bit darker blue up in the sky. It's tricky painting from the side because I can't really see exactly what I'm doing. But hopefully you can see more. I like better than just having to look at, the screens, that you can actually see the painting. I think it's more fun. So after we're all done, I'll probably stand here in front and just do some finishing when I can actually see what I'm doing. So this could almost be like a fog bank, which is kind of interesting. If I just drag the sky down over it a little bit, it makes for really pretty coloring. It does feel like maybe a fog bank, which is kind of cool. And then let's see what happens if I go even darker in the sky. Let's see what happens. Let's go really bold so you can just see the difference. See which one you like better. We'll take a group vote. Can you see how that kind of changes everything to get even darker? Yeah, I think I like that better. That's my vote. I said I was going to take a vote. I just took a vote, and I decided yes. All right. So I'm just curious again now. What happens if I go even darker with my clouds? Let's just see. I can hardly stand it. Let's see. Red, blue, purple, red, orange. I'm getting a little bit too dark. Let's see. Oh boy, let's see what happens. Ooh, that is wild. That is not what I want. Okay. Ooh, wow, that is wild. It needs some of the opposite color in it, which would be a yellow, to make it so it's not quite so wild. Or an orange. It still looks wild. Okay. There we go. So I hope it's kind of interesting to just see how this changes the whole feel of everything. Sometimes I like to do a painting and a demo, and I change it from the morning to the afternoon and then to nighttime while people are watching and like, oh my God, it's really fun to just keep changing the values. It's really fun to do. See how this darker color though shows off the sailboats much more than this lighter color? So this is playing it safe, but if you want to have some kind of a really bold statement, then you gotta go for it, a little darker. Well, I'll just add a few more clouds into the sky. Look at what happens if I do that. Just kind of mix them in. Okay, so now I think what I'll do, that was pretty fun, little variety of different color, trying out stuff. So I've still got nice thick paint. I still have a landmass, a sky, some boats, and some water. Now I think what I'll do is add some lighter values on top of the water and just fine tune the boats a little bit. And then we'll see where we are. So outside, see all these brushes? I mean, when I'm painting, I'm always in a hurry, so I don't want to clean all these brushes. That's why I have extra, most of every size, so I can just maybe lay these in the grass and carry on and worry about it later, because I'm trying to capture my idea, and if I spend too much time messing around, then I'll kind of lose my momentum. Or sometimes I'll have a dark one and a light one, you know, to use for here. So actually, this isn't too bad. I can probably turn this into some blue water. Let's see here. It's kind of a blue-gray. Ooh, that's pretty. So if I just kind of bring this along with a nice little light touch, it adds a nice little feel to the water. And hopefully I can let some of the dark show through still. Let's see here. That's starting to feel nice. I like that. I like to try to leave some of my that scrubbing in that I did first. And also toward the front, I like to keep it darker. So I should have left that darkness there, because it's a really pretty addition to a painting. So I'm going to darken it back in a minute. So I'm trying to just light touch set this color on top. And when you squint down, unfortunately, a lot of us painters have a whole bunch of wrinkles around our eyes because we're always squinting at stuff. And that you do that because it helps you to see the value changes easier than with your eyes wide open. So price to pay, you know. And you can just see how it kind of just leaves a little bit of the blue underneath. Well, I like the loose feel of that. And I like this darker at the bottom and lighter toward the back. So here I've got it too light at the bottom, I think. And so I'm going to try to go back to my short flat and push some, maybe take this off even. And just push some darker in there. You can't lay the dark on top of the light, so you have to really push it into the surface. It's really interesting. It's just the only way it works. Hopefully by doing this, it'll hold you into the painting so that the blue doesn't just go off the bottom. Can you kind of see the variety of coloring, which is what I like to do. A lot of times in a painting outdoors, I like to add, like if there's just all this green grass in front of me or whatever, I'll pretend there's a tree casting a big shadow right here in front, because the viewer likes to kind of stand in the shadow and be able to walk into a painting. And so it's kind of a little technique that's really a nice way to change the bottom of the painting to hold you in the painting, but it also allows for this shadow area for you to hang out in and then go into the painting. And so it just helps with a variety. So just saying all these things are things that we're always thinking about. Like there's a lot of ways to go in every decision on every painting. And, you know, all 30, however many people will paint it completely different depending on those decisions they make along the way. So it's pretty fun. So I'm going to switch from my short flat back to my long flat and get back to this lighter kind of blue-gray back here. I'm going to go, just take this, man, it's too light. Oh, maybe, there we go. Okay, so how's it going so far? Not bad? Okay, something else I need to ask you, because I can't see from the side. Is the horizon of the water straight, or is it crooked? I thought it might be crooked, because you can't have the horizon crooked. It has to be straight. Is it higher here? That's what figures. Okay, so I don't know how I'm going to fix it. You'll have to tell me when I get there. More? Oh my gosh. I have to raise my landmass then too. How much more? Like there? Not yet. Oh, jeez. Yeah, because I'm getting up too high. All right, let's see. I have to get out more brushes. And go back to my purpley color. Bring this landmass down. See, in my pictures, the landmass is darker, so let's see what happens if I do that. We'll just give it a go. So this is our distant landmass with trees on it now. The island, it's an island out there. Or, well, I mean, there's so many rivers and stuff, right? Tributaries to the... Do you like the darker better? Yeah, this is more of a statement, huh? It gives a nice little punch. I like it better too. Okay. Is it getting there? These are my trees. Really? Wow. That's not straight yet? Let's see. Oh my God, let's see what's going on here. Oh, it's crooked. Oh, that's so funny. Gosh, it looks so straight up here. So I've gone too low here too, or what? It's just the brush. Thank you, I appreciate that. That's not really me. Doggone brushes are crooked. Higher, higher, lower. All right, let's just go back to, I definitely like the dark green better than that light purple. That's really pretty. Unfortunately, here's what happens. Then I get it all over my brushes and all over my hands, and then it's all over my face. And then I go to the grocery store, and I've got blue and green all over my face, and they're like, yeah, lady, okay, here's your change. I walk out going, oh my God, I have to look in the mirror, see what's going on. So I have these little hand wipes that work out really good. And then I get in my car and I put my hands on the steering wheel and then on my phone. Before you know it, it's like, where is this blue coming from? You know, it's everywhere. All right. Oops. Okay, I think we could go even darker in the sky again. I'm going to even just blast the sky darker. Let's get darker sky. Let's be really bold. Fun. What a difference it makes, you know, little things like that. Wow, they make a huge difference. Okay, so we'll have just quiet clouds and stuff back here. It's just all quiet. That one? Yeah, it's a big chunk of paint. All right. I love that blue, that darker blue. So it's so funny, you can see how little things change it so much. So we've changed the color of the sky, we've changed the value of the clouds, we've changed the coloring and everything in the water, we've changed the coloring of the landmass, and hopefully you've kind of seen a lot of transformations to see how everything's coming along. Now I just need to go in and finish it, which is the hard part. So what I'll do is, I think I'll get some light on my boats and start to fine tune my boats a little bit and maybe lighten the mast so they're not quite so dark, a little orangey. And then I'm going to add some sparkle into the water and get my people with sun and shadow on them. And I think that'll do it for a demonstration anyhow. So let's see, I want to show you these brushes. These are really cool. So these are called rigger brushes or even script brushes. And you can see how long, again, the bristle part is. It's because you can take the paint on the tip and you can lay stuff on top of all this thick paint and it won't dig in. So the shorter brushes dig in. So if you have a detail brush that's really short, it'll just dig into your surface and it won't leave the paint where you want it. So the secret is to have these longer rigger type brushes, which I have them actually made special for me at Rosemary Brushes, because I have her cut them square at the top so that I can set and pull a line real easily with these guys. But you could buy a script brush, watercolor brush, or anything that just looks longer like that. Excuse me. And it'll help get detail on at the end. So these are really good for trying to finish up things. Yeah. Sometimes I like to do a little bit of kind of outlining a sail. When I see that in the photograph, it has... I need Nick's glasses. Hang on a minute. Okay, if I put these on, do I look like Nick? Because these are Nick's glasses. Oh, just like Nick, don't I? Okay, let's see. You can just kind of try to get some nice little detail work in here by a little bit of outlining. It's hard for me to do from the side, but I see in the photo, it really actually looks like there's an outside stitched edge or something kind of that's doubled up on these sails. And sometimes I like to even put just some extra lines around that kind of give it some movement. And it doesn't seem to hurt anything when I do that. And like if I put it down and it doesn't go exactly where I want it, it's okay. I'll just go fix it with the background or work on it some more. Okay, so let me get my picture back up so I can see what I got going here. Oh, the sails also have these great battens. And so you can add these nice little marks in there that add some, a lot of time these sails at the top are darker too, and I like to put a little bit of orange up here. But the little battens just give it a little nice little mark. Oh, this sail is actually square right here. This is interesting. I never saw that before. And this sail actually comes in a lot. Oh, look at that. Hey, I gotta fix that. I want to try this one, see if I can fix it. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Okay. So this sail actually comes in. I'm going to have to get this pinkish color. It goes this way, and then this way, and then this way, and down almost all the way to here. Wow. And this one, oh, I like that darker color. Again, I keep going darker with this background. And this, I like the way this sail swoops in, so I gotta like push my brush in on that. And then I just kind of go back and do this, move this around. So this is starting to get the right shapes. This one too. I think I'll add more white to this one back here so that it pops out more. And this sail comes in straight. So I'm just going in and doing some fun little, squaring out of pieces so I can get the shapes a little more correct. That looks better. Oops. Okay, it's getting there, sneaking up on it. Let's get some light on the boat. So this boat has some people on it, green people. It's kind of hard to see. This boat is really far away in my picture. This has a white bowsprit too on it. This boat I've got too fat. It needs to be much skinnier. There we go. That's a little sleeker. Can you see by pushing up on it? It's a little more sleek. So I'm trying to find a little place to set my finger and get this, line in here pretty much. Looks like the person sits way out here, and this goes away right here. So sometimes I have to go get rid of all my little fingerprints too at the end, but that's all right. So this boat, the front is catching some shadow, and my sail should be angled down. So I have to find all these little pieces, and just try to find them so that they're more correct. Same with this, angles this way. This is also such a beautiful boat. And my people are actually just little people way up here. Right, it goes out this way. I'm going to have to figure that out. Yeah, see, they're more like little people like that. So I'm going to have to figure that out because it's tricky business over here. Fun. This has a little number right here I want to get in. What happens if I do this? Oops. And I could have brought in a little more paint. I went through a lot of paint pretty fast. So it's tricky. I mean, a lot of times you might use a guide to get your hand to go straight on these masks. So when I'm, probably if I was finishing something, to try to make it a little more of a finished painting, I would be in front of it and I'd be double checking some of those lines to make sure that it was nice and straight. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So I think what I'll do now is just a little more of straightening things up, and then just going to add some sparkle to it and see how we're doing, see how we like it. A little bit of green back here. Oh, that's pretty green. I think maybe a lighter green would be pretty. Back here, there we go. This person's green. These guys are green. They have sun on their shirts. Okay, so you guys need to be starting to think of a title for me, because the title is always the hardest part. Sailing away, sailing into the future, sailing, running with the wind, adventure calls. Almost happy hour. What else? Stretching the breeze, catching the breeze. Oh, fun. Okay. What else? I need some more titles. That's always, because I always need titles, so while we're sitting here, if you come up with any good ones, just let me know. We'll just write them down. I'll use them in my next 3 paintings. Okay, so I'm kind of getting things rolling here. This is just a few little pieces. I want to make sure I get in the nice dark under here. The nice dark under here, and then this boat. See, now this boat, I have it all warm. I guess we could pretend like it's a wooden boat, maybe, instead of turning it to white, because then when you turn it to white and then it goes into shadow, then it's purples and blues and grays, and it's like, ay, how do you get all these blues and grays to, read as a boat? Yeah, so does this look like it could just be a wooden boat, you think? Like a teak or something like that? Okay. So then I could probably put a little more orange back into the mast itself and maybe take off the white, because this would probably be, if that's just all wood, this would be more of an orange color, which would be real pretty. Ooh. Yee. Woo. Oh, I like the orange. That looks really nice. I'm glad you told me that. Thanks, because that worked out nicely. And then these are people. These are humans, so they have some little heads out here. Oh, that's you have to make sure you don't make too big of heads and too big of bodies, because then all the sailboat isn't big anymore. Like that head's way too big. Got to fix that guy's head. Ah, I lost it. Where'd it go? Get back on there. Okay, so we've got some people here. Gosh, it's really hard to get that right, that these little planks are, they should probably be brown. Maybe if I put brown, they'll show up better. That works, I hope. Back here, these are little people on little planks. Best that, I mean, if you know what you're looking at, then I guess you'll know that those are people. And this comes this way. Oh, this has a beautiful bow on it. That looks pretty good. Okay, just for fun, let's add some sparkle into the reflection. Now, what color should that be? If we add so without trying to, really render the water, I'm just trying to give a feel of sparkle and a little bit of depth to my colors. Oh yeah, I want to whiten these sails back here too, so they're a little bit happier. This is that rigger brush. See how it makes these really fun little shapes, and I try to just lay it and then pull a little bit and just kind of let it do its own thing. It also makes really great branches in trees. And where you just let it wiggle, you turn it and twist it, it does its own thing. These are the best brushes. These are called the rigger brush. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's say we have this color of sparkle on the reflection, and then I think it might be fun to change a little bit of the sparkle color on the water, just because I can, and then go like, I don't want too many lines, but I want to have a little bit of happiness in there. I think I'll change that back bow to wood too. I think it'll look better. Let's get some more orange in here. Ooh, that's pretty. Let's get in there. What do you think? Let's just brighten up the sails back here, and I'm just add a little sunlight on our distant landmass, and then I think it'll be time for me to step back, and if you want to stay and watch me try to finish some more, you can, but I'll probably only work on a little bit more. Yeah, I like that. So I'm trying to scoop it up on my brush, and you can see how thick it is. And then just try to turn the brush over and lay on the really thick paint. And just let it be. So I want it to be white but warm. And just scoop it up. Oh, that's really bright. Like here, I think that'd be nice. This one has a little bit of warmth in this corner. Yeah, these need a little love from the sun. Give it a little pop. So I'll just add a little bit, I think a little bit of really bright red-orange onto the people here that are in the sun. So they have a little bit more light to them. Along with some dark. I know, it feels like it probably all tilts a little bit this way. That's what happens painting from the side. I can't tell if it does or doesn't. Well, let Nick's. Catching the Wind was a suggestion for a title. That's a good one. Really good one. Do you think that'll work, Catching the Wind? That was from online, one of our viewers. Actually, my good friend Elise Phillips, who's in the show. Tell Deb to call it Catching with the Wind. Like, okay. So these guys are a little dark back here. I'm just lighting up these masks just a little bit back here, so they're not quite so strong. And then, well, I like to add a little pop of real dark on the boats in some places. This one needs a skinnier little bowsprit. It's got a little stern. It should be skinnier. Oops, I've got white on my finger. Let's fix that. Oh, it's fun to change all the colors so much. I thought that was really fun. I hope you enjoyed that part because that just goes to show how challenging it can be when you're trying to figure out what color is that? Okay, what do you think? I hope you enjoyed just trying to see how the big pieces go in, the thin brushwork, the thick brushwork, the different types of brushes. You can see all these brushes I'm using, a lot of decisions. And at the end, that's when you really have to slow down and really start to fine tune, which is where I'd have to be in the front and you wouldn't be able to see very well. But I think we did our job today, and I want to thank you so much for coming to join us today. And happy painting, everybody. Thank you. Hope you'll join us tonight from 6 to 8 over at 114 Washington Street. Was it, Uncle? Warmer part.